Verse 5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. So the one who abides, the one who's connected to God, connected to this vine, somehow if I'm connected to God, he says, I will bear much fruit. And if I'm not abiding in him and I'm not connected to him, then I will bear no fruit. So again, based upon Scripture, what else matters? If I'm connected to him right now, if I'm abiding in him, something's going to happen. If God's presence shows up in a real way because I'm connected to him, there will be fruit. And if not, then this is just another message where you're just going to go in one ear out the other. You may go, oh, that was good, and we move on. Everything's dependent on him. And yet I gotta be honest with you. I was so wrestling with this afternoon because there's a part of me, it gets tiring. It's tiring to ask for the presence of God and really to be present with him. What I mean is it's easier for me just to go, okay, I've got some notes that I know will work. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I mean, it may not be great, it may not, but it's going to be fine. I'll get a little applause at the end. You know, this will work. And to take the risk of even right now, this very moment, going, God, I mean, even as we were praying, I'm just surrendering to God. When we were singing Amazing Grace, I'm going, God, that's right. You know, why am I afraid of just surrendering to you right now? Why am I afraid to just say, okay, God, my mouth, you may want me to say something that everyone will hate, but here's my mouth. And as we're singing Amazing Grace, all these thoughts are coming to my head of, yeah, it's just his amazing grace that I'm standing on the stage. Why in the world am I doing this? Man, I shouldn't be in ministry. Man, all the failures of my life. I should be in hell right now. If you believe in that. It's just this whole, man, where should I? If it isn't for his amazing grace. And I'm just sitting there going, man, who am I to think about surrendering to you, God? To surrender my voice, surrender my words to you right now. Who am I to even do that? You're God, you're amazing. God, have me say whatever you want me to say. Have things happen in this room. Whatever you want to happen, just do it. Don't say another word. Who cares? God, we want you. We want you to show up. We want your spirit, because when your spirit shows up, amazing things happen. Amazing. When your presence is here. And that's why you see these, you know, like John earlier, he records what Jesus says in John 6, verse 63. It says this, it is the Spirit who gives life. The flesh is no help at all. At all? I mean, don't I have to deliver it pretty well? Don't we got to sing at least on pitch for something to happen? Is it really the Spirit that does everything? According to Jesus, again, it's the Spirit who gives life. The flesh is no help at all. And that's why the psalmist writes in Psalm 27, one thing have I asked for, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. For he'll hide me in his shelter in the day of trouble. He'll conceal me under the cover of his tent. He'll lift me high on a rock. That's why the psalmist says, okay, I only ask for one thing. I'm not asking for all this other stuff. The one thing I keep asking for is, God, just let me dwell in your presence, because when I'm in your presence, it's like nothing else matters. It's like when I'm in your presence, no one can hurt me. When I'm in your presence, everything just works out. Like I just want to dwell in your presence. That's the one thing I ask for. You guys, if I could get a transcript of your prayers over the last month, okay, every single prayer you prayed over the last month, even the ones where your mind wanders, like, dear God, you're so awesome. Oh, I forgot to, mow the lawn. If I could, you know what I'm talking about, if I could get a transcript, think about this. Everything you prayed to God over the last month. What would I say is the one thing you kept praying for? Blessing. Was it to dwell in the house of the Lord? Was it the one thing you just kept asking, like, God, I just want you with me right now. I just want to be in your presence. I just want to know that you and I, gosh, I'm just so in love with you. I just want to gaze upon your beauty. Is that what I would read just over and over again? Well, there's Tuesday, same thing. She wants the same thing again. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because that's what this guy is praying for. This guy, David. This is what David is asking for. Saying, God, this is what I want. And the other week I was reading 1 Samuel chapter 30, and I love this. When you read these Psalms of David, and then you look at his life, I realize, okay, that's why he could pull this off. 1 Samuel 30, listen to this story, because this was so convicting to me. I loved it, though. 1 Samuel 30, it says, when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had made a raid against the Negev and against Ziklag. They'd overcome Ziklag, burned it with fire, and taken captive all the women and all who were in it, both small and great. They killed no one, but carried them off and went their way. And when David and his men came to the city, they found it burned with fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. Then David and the people who were with them raised their voices, and they wept until they had no more strength to weep. David's 2 wives also had been taken captive. Ignore the 2 wives thing. Ask Andy about it later. David's 2 wives also had been taken captive, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because all the people were bitter in soul, each for his sons and daughters. And look what it says. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. A lot of people see that's when he wrote Psalm 40, where he waited patiently for the Lord. God inclined and heard his cry. But it just struck me. I'm like, that's it? David waited patiently for the Lord. David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Are you getting the picture here? David is just showing up to the city with his army. So here comes David and his army marching in, and they show up to their city, and they realize they just burned our whole city down. And then they realized they took my wife. They took my kids. These are soldiers coming back and go, man, they just took my wife and kids. What are they doing to my wife right now? What are they doing to my kids right now? I'm going to kill someone. I mean, man, think about what that would feel like. You walk back into the city and you go, someone took my wife, someone took my kids. And so the whole army just starts bawling. It says everyone just started crying because it's overwhelming. How do you lose everything in a second like that? Especially when you know they didn't even just kill my kids, they took them. And so it says they all just started crying till they couldn't cry anymore. David's bawling, and then suddenly all of the soldiers look at David and say it's his fault. And they said, let's stone him to death. And that's when David strengthened himself